the SBTDC. Can everybody hear me okay? Is the mic level good? Okay. How's it good?
I think it's more the speaker turn that way. But it's okay, go on.
Okay. So our panel is going to actually continue the conversation we were just having with Linda. We're starting to ease into our turn of talking about business planning, talking about growth strategies, cash projections, all that kind of fun stuff. I wanted to remind, before we start, that this is being recorded. It is going to be available online, so if folks have to step out or miss part of this, you will be able to refer back and hear the full conversation in the future. And thank you again to our videographer. Again, cell phones too, if you could at least have them on stun or buzz or something that doesn't make a noise, that would be helpful. So our panelists here, our esteemed group, are going to be talking about business services and planning. Specifically, putting together business plans, getting consulting help as necessary, and growth strategies for business. So we're each going to, as we've done with previous panels, each are going to take 3 minutes to introduce yourselves briefly and your organization, and say the top 2 to 3 things you want to share first off about this area, about business services and business planning. So I'll let Denise kick us off.
Thank you. I won't talk about SBTDC since we already did that, but I think part of your strategy is to use all the resources here because we all are a little different, as you've heard, and we're not offended if you start, let's say, about BizWorks, and then you come, let's say, to me, Eileen, who you heard previously. She started with Mountain BizWorks in the Foundations course, and I highly recommend that. That should be part of your strategy. And then what Eileen did is, after she took the Foundations course and she wanted to refine things, she wanted some help with some market research, some help just refining her business plans, some one-on-one counseling with the cash flow or whatever. Then she came to me, and right on her business plan it said Mountain BizWorks. That's fine. Part of your strategy, use all the resources. Many folks, they might start with a small business center where Dwayne is, and he'll tell you about his wonderful program at the AD Tech. Stephanie, her clients sometimes come to us. It's perfectly okay. We all do similar things and then a little differently. For example, SBTDC does not do a lot of training because why should we when everybody else does a great job? You know, so and SCORE is here as well. You heard Glenn this morning. So your strategy is to learn about what all the technical service providers do, and then start with one. You might not need to go to anybody else, but I highly recommend that you use the resources that are here. So that's my first strategy.
I'm Stephanie Swetson Twiggy, President and CEO for Eagle Market Streets Development Corporation. And I too would champion you to use the resources that you heard about this morning, the folks that you're going to be hearing about on the speaking here on the panel. Eagle Market Street, as I think about the 3 priority pieces that were outlined for us in business services, do the research. You know, don't buy a pig in the poke, so to speak, or pick the first thing that you see online. Do the research to see if that's really a good fit for you. Be strategic in how you approach you're looking for business services. Again, as to piggyback on Denise, you know, you might want to start with Mountain BizWorks if you are a mature business and ready to take on the challenges of just jumping right in. But if you're just at the concept stage of what you're trying to do, you haven't figured it out, you just woke up at 2 o'clock in the morning and said, I ain't working here anymore, you might want to try Eagle Market Street because we could offer you a little more hand-holding in that way. With your business plan, understand that it is a living, breathing document, that it should be your pathway, if you will, to your success. And then, of course, with growth, you always want to be, again, strategic
Johnson Dye. I'm the Director of Entrepreneurship at Mountain BizWorks, and I was on an earlier panel. Victor Palomino, who works with me, is also here today. He's an artist, so it's really wonderful to also work with an artist and have someone who is working alongside with you. Victor also brought some resources with him today, so they are back here in the back. I think my biggest thing is I hear from businesses or entrepreneurs all the time about getting started on their business, and the question I always want to ask about that is, are you working on your business? Are you working in your business? It's two different things. If you're working on your business, that means you're planning it, doing the work, the front end work, and you're getting ready and planning all of that out. If you're already in a business, it's really hard to work on the business and in the business at the same time. Because a lot of entrepreneurs are the sole person. You're everything. I'll just give you a little story to go along with that. This is a good story. We have good success. Right around the corner is a wonderful restaurant. It's one of my favorites. It's White Duck Taco. And when Ben and his wife came to town, they came to Mountain BizWorks because they really wanted support and wanted to get started. What happened is Ben worked really hard on his business before he jumped in to working in the business. Of course, as many of you know, that business still got way ahead of him because he was way ahead of the vision of bringing that restaurant to town, and folks were really ready for that food. So he was, days that he ran out of food, if you were up there, that's a really hard thing for an entrepreneur. So when you run out of the product that you're selling, and that's really, it can really get crazy. He and his wife did do a lot of planning though. They planned really well and executed that business plan to the fullest. So I really like it when people have the time or take the time to work on the project before they get into the project and plan everything out. It's just, it does a whole lot better. Do most people do that? No. And are most people going to? No. But if you sit and think about it, today you're giving yourself a gift of being here and learning how to do some of these things. So it's an opportunity to try to change some of those planning and habits that we have. So thanks.
Hello, I'm Dwayne Adams. I'm the program coordinator at the Small Business Center at AD Tech. And I would definitely re-emphasize what everyone up here said about familiarizing yourself with all the resources. And I can say that our most successful clients are the ones who are aware of what we all do, the strengths that we all have. And a good indicator is generally when one of us says a client's name and everyone else knows that client. So that's a good indicator that person's on the right path. When I think about the three constituents that we were given, I did take some notes and write some things down that I really wanted to emphasize. One, in regards to planning, particularly when we deal with creative-minded people, like people in this room, they can get paralyzed by planning. So don't paralyze yourself with business planning, okay? We've all talked about how it's a fluid document, which is very true, but also use that document as an impetus for creativity. So use that document to kind of stimulate creative thought, if you will. In regards to counseling, I would say come to counseling with an objective. Know what you're trying to get out of that counseling session. Inquire, don't be afraid to inquire, ask any questions. And if the person that you're speaking to doesn't have the answer, inquire about where you can get the answer. We're not shy, it seems you, between us. So that's not a problem at all. And then when we talk about growth, protect yourself, protect your brand, stay innovative, particularly with this group. Stay cutting edge. Think about new methodologies, new techniques. All those things are very important to stay cutting edge. So just keep that in mind.
Wonderful. Thank you all. It's a good panel, and almost every question I could have thought of gets answered at the opening. So thank you for that. I do have a couple more up my sleeve, though. The first thing is really to build off of what we've been talking about with the plan. And now when I'm talking about the plan, the business plan, I'm talking about words on paper, a literal written business plan. From all of your collective experience, talk some about why it's important to have a written plan, the purposes of that plan, and really components of outstanding plans that you see come across your desks and help clients with.
Well, for starters, I think Noah mentioned this, alluded to this morning. You don't need, a 100-page business plan at all. In fact, banks don't want that. And unless you're borrowing millions of dollars, you don't need it. So if you're looking at a small loan, anywhere from $5,000 to maybe $100,000, which is, well, let's say 50, let's say 5,000 to 150,000, a 10-page plan is probably good enough. It's going to be precise. It's going to have all the information that the bank needs, which is a very good, strong executive summary, which we would, well, it's preferred for you to do it at the end of the writing process, because then the executive summary is what it says, a summary of what you're asking for. And generally speaking, in that very first page of the summary, and whether you're looking to borrow money from a bank or not, when clients come to me, I want them to have a bankable business plan. And by that, I don't mean that they're going to get a loan. I can't guarantee that at all. But I want it to be good enough so that if they go to a bank, they don't have to be embarrassed, that it's a good plan. So in that executive summary, you need to state the obvious. What the business is it an LLC, a sole proprietorship, an S corp, the address of the business, and if it's a home-based business, say it. That's perfectly okay. And then you want to say exactly what the purpose of the business is, and if you are going to a bank, how much money are you asking for? For example, if you're looking to borrow $20,000 to start your business plus working capital, state that. And then you don't need to say much. Say how you're going to pay it back. So that loan will be paid back through sales, through export, however you're going to pay it back. I mean, it's very obvious, but that's what the bankers want to see. A clear and concise executive summary. And I want to talk about one other thing for the business plan. And well, we already talked about the importance of cash flow projections, and I'm going to let some of the other folks address that. But for marketing, you need to know your market. I mean, the due diligence is critical. I can remember, I would say about 9 years ago, everybody and their mother wanted to open up a coffee shop. Asheville didn't have many coffee shops back then. James laughing because we worked at several coffee shops. And people, sometimes you get someone will come in and they say, oh, I have this great idea, I'm going to do a coffee shop and I want it downtown. Well, sometimes they're already, at a certain point, there are too many downtown. You could have the best idea and concept in the world, but if the market is not going to bear another coffee shop, don't do it, or go somewhere else. How does that apply to you as an artist? And I think Wayne spoke about this morning. The beauty of art is that it's all original and unique. And so when you start to market, you need to think about how you're different from other artists. Do you use different materials? Are your sizes different? What medium do you work in? I mean, it's really important. I know it sounds kind of obvious, but say that if you're writing a business plan. How are you different? You have that luxury that your art is unique to you. So talk about that. So I think I'll just leave it at that.
When I think about the importance of a written plan, three things come quickly to mind. A written plan informs, it keeps focus, and it provides opportunity. It informs you as the writer of the plan, as you're writing it. Again, you have an opportunity to determine how you want people to see you. It helps others to know that you put an investment in. Business plan is an investment on your part, as well as anyone that might be supporting you. It helps you to articulate without the plan, who you are in other situations. Gives a little background and vision about you as a business. When I say keep your focus, I mean, if we're using it as a living document and we're reviewing it periodically, it helps us to know that if we said projection in year 3 was X, Y, Z, and we're following it and we see that we're in year 2 and we're not getting to that, then that gives us an opportunity to retrench, if you will, and rethink that thing so that we can be back on target. And it always provides an opportunity for growth.
There's so much that's been said already that I would agree with, and so I'm not going to just, these folks are experts, too. I would just say that, that a business plan is definitely a roadmap. It's the beginning of your journey. I do believe, like Stephanie, that it is an investment. It becomes an asset. It becomes your asset, whether anyone else sees it that way or not. You, if you've worked your business plan, you should have information, statistics, analytical information that will also show you when you will break even. And that's one of the most important things as entrepreneur that you need to know is when that is going to happen. And if it's not happening, again, like Stephanie was saying, how to adjust that. So I do think it's a very wonderful, also if it's a startup business, you're listing in there all of your startup costs, but you're also listing everything that you've already purchased and put into the business, which does become part of your balance sheet when you go forward towards investing.
And to kind of, I'll start by dovetailing off of what Anise said earlier about things that you do differently and how you should speak about those in your plan. But those are things that I refer to as your core competency. Those are things that you do well that you wouldn't trust anyone else to do for you. And that's something that you need to promote. You need to promote your core competency so that your market knows what you do well. Think also about making your business plan a holistic document. And what I mean by that is it all ties together. So when you do your target market, that information goes over into your financials so you can get that initial sales number. And then that number goes down into your net profits, and all that stuff ties together. So think about it as a holistic document. So there is a certain level of redundancy in the business plan when you write it, and that's okay. That's fine. The redundancy is there because it gives you a connection from one section to the next. And then another thing I tell you to do is I tell people, I have an acronym. I say PDCA: Plan, Do, Check, Act. Okay? Check is very important. Validating your plan, validating any part of your plan, specifically with marketing, because you want to know the results of your plan, and that way you can retrench and then go back and try something different.
That's a plan to
Plan, do, check, act.
I'm really glad you asked me because I was going to grab Wayne and say, all right, Wayne, I'm going to start using that. One thing I would add, and it was added by Jane whispering in my ear, and anytime a lender whispers anything or says anything, usually I listen very closely, is that business plans, written bankable business plans, do not have to be fancy. There is no expectation that it is a marketing document. It is a plan. It's going to reflect the work you put into it and the knowledge that you bring to bear for your sector, for your industry. It does not have to be glossy. It does not have to have beautiful images. A lot of the work I do is reviewing plans, offering feedback, poking and prodding, saying this doesn't match. Some of the cash flow information doesn't really match some of your budget planning. And some of the most effective plans I've seen are hideous to look at and very straightforward to read. And that's the key. That's why they're so good, is that they're straightforward and simple. You want to add something? Sure.
And I just want to say one other thing about that. You need to know what's in your business plan. Because one of the worst things that can happen if you go for financing is for the lender to ask you a question such as, how did you get this number for your whatever? And you say, well, I don't know, the counselor put that in there. what you are showing the lender is how well you know your business inside and out. And so that's why it's very important for you to know your business plan. Just, live it, breathe it, know it.
Thank you. Very wise words. We do have, I brought one more copy. I brought a whole stack, but they're gone, I just saw, of our business plan outline. It's, again, not fancy. A very straightforward document. You can email me to get another copy of this. I think we each also, Mountain BizWorks, of course, have a class. Dwayne has a template. There are lots of templates online, too. The SBA website, which was mentioned as a resource, has another template that's very similar to each of these. This is just our business plan outline. That's all we call it. And it asks a series of questions for each section, provides a structure to kind of organize your thinking. It can be a useful way for some folks to start the process. The next question I have is about consultants and about other folks to help. We've already talked a lot about all of us as service providers who are paid to provide assistance to small businesses. My question for this group is about in hiring folks specifically, paid advisors, be they accountants, attorneys, other assets of the business with the knowledge that they're going to bring to the table. What should a business owner, specifically an artist looking to start a business or run a business, what should they look for when they're hiring someone like this? Because they're not going to be cheap unless you go to Dwayne's professional services office, which I want Dwayne to talk about too. What should folks look for as they try to find these professional service providers?
I think that's an excellent question. And here's what I'll just say about it. It's based just on my experience. Before you hire a consultant, and there are many instances when you should. I mean, we don't have all the answers. I'm not an expert on artists and their business, and there are experts on that. But I would say, come to the services that are either free or cheap first, and when we can't help you anymore, we'll tell you. For example, I remember working with a jeweler in starting her business. And so I helped her with the business plan, I helped her with some market research, because one of the things SBTDC can do, because we're part of the university, we have access to databases that a lot of organizations and small businesses would never have access to because they're very expensive. So we can sometimes do market research for you. So for example, if you wanted to do an e-blast to all the galleries in the Southeast, we might be able to provide that list, for example. So there's a lot of information out there. But when her business was starting and she was doing well, then there was a point when she wanted to do a trade show. And then she was asking me questions about what kind of, I need to design a booth. That's where I had to say, I can't help you design a booth. I don't know anything about booth design. But there are consultants in town. One of them, Wendy Outland, will be here this afternoon. I have sent clients to her. She has worked in this community for a long time. And when I refer consultants to my clients, I don't give just one. Because I work for the state, we can't just refer someone to, hey, go see my friend. Because then it looks like we're favoring certain businesses. So we will try to give at least 3 references to consultants. I might call my colleagues here and say, hey, do you know any booth designers, any graphic designers that I need? So we will make referrals, and they're just that, they're referrals. When I make a referral and then someone has a bad experience with that referral, it can happen, then that referral is no longer on my list. But there are times when you need to use a consultant because we don't know everything. If it's to write a business plan, I would say no. Now, if you are so busy, let's say you have an existing business or for whatever reason you don't have time to write a business plan and you want to hire someone to help you, go right ahead. There are people out there who can help you with a business plan if you want to put the time in. But as Jane said, you better know what's in that business plan and be able to defend it. Because if you go to a bank and they ask you a question and you don't know the answer, that looks really bad. So, and who else should you hire? You might want to hire an accountant. yes, please use consultants when you don't find the expertise anywhere. But before you do, I would highly recommend that you ask us. Or one other time you probably should hire a consultant if you're building an e-commerce website. You know, maybe some of you can do that. But again, get referrals. And so that's what I want to say about that.
Well, it's hard to follow me on this one. But I would just echo that yes, on the front end, as you're developing your plan, as you're putting your business together, the resources that are low or no fee cost to you are probably your best opportunity. However, as you grow that business and as you have opportunities that arise that need more expertise, you need to look for the consultant. You need to, and it depends on your business too, I would say. If you're starting out as an artist to just do exhibits and that sort of thing, you might, again, not need someone with such expertise as Handmade in America might be able to offer you. But on the other hand, if you are seasoned in your business and don't know about how to get to SOFA or how to get to some other markets, you might then want to pursue finding a consultant.
And Stephanie, can you just say say something about Handmade? When's going to be on a program, Stephanie, just to tell folks?
Absolutely. Handmade in America is the wonderful organization here in town led by Gwen Bookenbrod, who is building our economy through scales of through craft and art. And so when Gwen is here, please feel free to ask her all the questions. Don't tell her who told you that. I'm sitting on Handmade's board, and I might not be able to tell her. So, but yes, I mean, certainly for any of you that have questions or need information for brief consulting, that sort of thing, please reach out to Handmade.
One of the things I would recommend is that you allow yourself to be involved with networking. Networking is really important, and yet it's really sometimes not the most feasible thing to be involved with, but you will also find out that whatever other folks in your genre are doing, like at one time there were a lot of artists who were going to Glenda Larson, because Glenda Larson specialized in doing bookkeeping and accounting for artists. And that sometimes those are things that you can only find out when you're with other folks who are doing the same type of business that you've been doing. That's why I think that's what I would add to that.
I can go everywhere with this, but I won't. When you're thinking about people to hire, I would say, of course, you want someone you can trust, which requires a certain level of comfort. You want someone who has the expertise that can assist you. And actually, we have a resource for the small business center. One of my favorite amenities that we have there is what we refer to as our professional services office. And this office is actually made up of a number of different professionals in different areas different functional areas of business, if you will. So we have attorneys, we have marketers, CPAs, HR professionals, we have a web developer, we have a life coach. So we try to cover the whole myriad of needs that you may have for your business. The only thing you have to do to tap into that is come in for a one-on-one session with one of our counselors, which in most cases will be me. But what happens is you can speak to me, we'll map out a game plan as to how we need to move forward. A lot of times it's funny because people will come in and they'll think they need to see a CPA, and I'm like, no, you need to see an attorney. So I'll actually help to prepare you for those next steps, if you will. And that's also a free service, FYI, it's free. So we want to be first, just for that reason. Just like Denise said, if you don't get what you can from us, you may want to try to tap into one of these other resources. One last thing I'll say, it's very important also that you list of mentor. And that may not be easy to do in close-knit circles, but being that we have social media and all these other resources, the world has become so much flatter, and mentors can be found all over the globe. A lot of times people have less resistance to being a mentor if you're not playing in their marketplace. So just be aware that resources are out there, reach out to people that have actually been there. Okay. So that's different from mentor and coach, and that's a mentor.
All right, are there questions from the audience for our panelists or comments? Yep.
Thinking about how you guys are saying you need to have a plan, and are you planning in your business or working in your business or working on your business? And I'm just getting started as a puppeteer, and when I think about what I'm going to do, I'm like, I'm going to do all these things. Like I'm going to do birthday parties, and I want to go on tour, and I want to perform in schools, and it's confusing for me how to make a plan until I know exactly what I'm doing. Like I'm like, well, first I'll build my school show, and then I'll look for schools to perform in. Or should I be, I'm kind of doing it all at once, you know, and it's like if you're opening a hot dog stand, you're like, first I'll buy the hot dogs, and then I'll buy the buns, and I've got it all planned out. But as an artist, like your ideas are like who knows what you're going to come up with, and maybe I'll have an idea that shifts my market and my audiences. And so I'm just wondering if anyone has anything to say about art as opposed to kind of a more linear business. Art can be so all over the place. And if anyone has something to say about the nature of art ideas and then a business plan.
Well, I'll take a shot at that, and I will say, I understand art as a creativity, as part of creativity. I'm very much in support of it, and also do it some myself. But the thing is, if you want it to be a business, you still have to follow the business guidelines of it. There's no getting around it. The people that are successful in this town and other towns have found that out. And what happens is, what you're talking about is, you're looking at your cash flow and you're developing units of sale, and each one of those items you're talking about could be very different. So it's going to affect your cash flow. It's different streams of income coming in. It's great if you have all of those ideas. You can even go through and develop a business plan where you're selling 4 or 5 different units into that same business operational model. And it's great. But just remember something. This isn't going to take away your creativity. It's not going to do anything to farm any of it. It's going to actually make it better for you because you'll be a little more realistic as to what you can do, how you can get started. But the thing is, you cannot take and say, if art is not a business, then you don't need to be in it as a business. You need to just do it, have fun with it, and go about your way with it. But if you're going to do it as a business, you've really got to look at it as a business.
I want to reiterate what Sharon said, like 1,000%. And I'm not going to insult you by what I'm going to say, please don't take it that way, but your business is very much like a hot dog stand. And here's why. You want to make money, right? You want to earn your living as a puppeteer, which is a great idea, by the way. But you have to sell your product, and you have different line of products. But one of the things you said was, okay, you want to go to schools, right, to do your shows. Well, like the guy who wants to set up a hot dog stand, he better not, or she better not buy that stand and order the inventory and find out that, oh, you can't just put your hot dog stand anywhere in Asheville. You have to get a permit. You have to find out, is there a space available? You have to have money to pay for it. What, Brenda?
Is there another hot dog stand?
Exactly. So the market will take another hot dog stand. And as a puppeteer, you better not make all your puppets and do everything and say, now I'm going to school. How do you know those schools have a budget to hire you? You have got to do your market research first. It's a business. And I think that's the hardest part for artists, because they think that it takes away from the creativity. No. The most successful artists are the ones who happen to be good in business, your bookkeeping, but unfortunately, if you're just starting out, you're doing it all. You're doing the bookkeeping, you're doing the marketing, you're doing the tweeting, you're doing the design, you're doing the production. In many cases, you're doing it all. And so is the hot dog guy. He's doing it all. You know, and I think that that's a hard reality for creative people, but we all see that over and over again.
And one last thing I'll add too is always think about your capacity. You know, as an individual, specifically as an artist, always think about how much you can actually feel that need that's in the marketplace. Don't water yourself down. Keep your quality where it needs to be. Using the analogy with the hot dog stand, there's a difference if you're going to have ballpark Franklin Chili and Laurel Land and Munster. I mean, so you got to keep that in mind also. You want to keep your quality where it needs to be as an artist.
I would just, just to close out that piece right there, I would just say again that to remember that this business plan is going to inform you, it's going to inform others, it's going to help you keep your focus as you talk about all the myriad of things that you want to do. If you have a plan, that helps you to stay focused on how you're going to implement each one of those things. And then, of course, it provides opportunity for that creativity that you spoke about.
I highly recommend the class with any one of these providers here. Because they'll help you sort it out. The problem is pretty common. And I think Eileen wanted to mention something too. I actually wanted to go back to the consultants and referrals segment and just make, I have 3 points I wanted to make and other like questions.
When I was meeting with Denise, she took me across the hall 2 occasions and introduced me to someone else. And one of them, I wanted to create a new website. So she took me over across the hall and they provided me a template for a request for proposal for my new website. And then suggested some web designers to contact. So that template was exceedingly helpful in my getting what I needed onto paper so that I could choose a web designer. One other thing I wanted to say to everybody here, if you use someone, do share your experiences and especially share them with whatever provider has given you that referral so that they share them with the rest of us. And one of the other things, Anise took me across the hall to Noah, and he called me or emailed me the next day and said, oh, by the way, would you be interested in working with a team of marketing students at Western Carolina? And so I had actually forgotten that such things existed, and I am working with a team, and it's really wonderful. It's good for them, and it's also really good for me. And I was wondering if there is a way to find other teams, if I wanted some other, some help in some other area.
Yeah, I'll do that. Thank you for all of those comments. It's always very helpful to hear from someone who's gone through this, who's had the hurdles, had the challenges, and is succeeding, as we can see. So speaking specifically about student teams, that's a partnership that's evolved over time. And for us, it's an obvious one because we're run through Western Carolina University. We are positioned in the business department at Western, and so we have all these professors who have all these great ideas and teach these wonderful classes and have bright students who are dying to get out with real businesses because, number one, they don't necessarily just want to use case studies from a book or talk about huge companies when they're teaching their principles. They would love to get their hands dirty with real businesses, see what it actually looks like here. And it also works very well because Western's mission increasingly is engagement with this region and with sharing, not just with teaching, but with sharing the assets of the university with the community. So at this point, we have teams doing marketing plans, some fairly detailed and related to product commercialization. This summer, we're going to have some teams related to exporting. A number of these teams are specifically looking for larger clients, for existing businesses, but on occasion we do have teams who want to work on business plans and want to help folks through that process. And so to become engaged with that, simply contact our office. We'll get you signed up as a client, and then we'll be very candid about, if it looks like a team that would fit is coming up, or if it might be a year out. It kind of depends on the course load and what's going on. But thank you for raising that up. Other questions?
Comments?
I'll let you take it.
My name is Jen Haley. I'm design jewelry. I'm also a former business coach for holistic practitioners, which have a lot in common with artists. So for me, it's new to be in a business that is not service-based. So I have more overhead because I have materials, I have more training, things like that. So I'm learning a lot. I've already been going to the incubator and gotten a lot of things from that. But I find that the left brain, right brain thing, the creative versus the structure, and it helps me to look at it because I also feel that overwhelm around, okay, these are my ideas and I don't want to push my creativity by making this plan. But I see the plan as a sketch or a blueprint, and then it's also kind of like when I used to do mixed media sculpture. Like you have this stuff, and what are you going to do with it? And I feel like the business plan is that too. And so I feel like it's constantly, challenging myself to bridge that gap between the left brain, right brain, and this chaos and limitation. But there is a place, and I feel like, the willing to do whatever it takes is what it takes. So, thank you.
Yes.
So glad you said that. I just have to say that those of you who are of the creative mind, those of you who are of the creative mind, artists, a lot of times we tend to have so much creative energy coming out of us and going in different directions, okay? It's important to know that that is okay. That as far as putting a business plan together, it's okay for that to be the case. But it's also important for you to know that as these creative ideas are coming out, you have to exhaust each and every idea. You have to follow through and take it all the way through its path. And there's nothing wrong with focusing on each and every idea individually on its own. Because what you may find at the end, you may be able to connect the dots and possibly even form it under an umbrella that will be to your advantage and to your benefit. But it's okay when you're trying to pull together a business plan, if you don't have just one idea that you're focusing on and putting all this energy in, but yet you have all of these other ideas, it's okay. Don't let it discourage you, because it's so easy for that to discourage you. Coming from the creative mind, it is so easy.
Very great. This is great. I also want to say that, sometimes I like to paint too. I like acrylic, I like the texture, and but I want to make jewelry. That's how I make my living. And so I see that as a hobby. And I keep on wanting to bring that into my business, but it doesn't fit. And it's hard for me because I want to give myself permission to put energy into that, but it is separate. And one thing, I met with Barry last week at Anchor Tech, and he helped me see that these 3 different ideas that I have are distribution channels. And so instead of saying it's too much, you can't do it, it helped me frame it in a way that I can have permission to do these things and just make sure they're going to make money. And so, Jen Haley, thank you.
I think that's a critical point, is that one of the purposes of the business plan is to save you time and heartache down the road. Because if you actually have the courage to face one of your ideas and to translate it into numbers and to see, oh my goodness, that project may take me 40 hours to make something that's going to sell for $3. You know, you just want to face that ahead of time. That's why the process is useful.
Others, questions? Comments?
My comment is that this has been extremely helpful on every level. I've been an artist for a lot of years. And sometimes I make money, sometimes I don't, but I can never make business money. Thank you very much.
Okay, I think all that hot dog talk. We're predisposed what we're going to do next. Before our coach takes us there, I want to remind everyone, if you're not going to stick around, if you have somebody this afternoon, please, before you leave, take an evaluation outside the door, fill it out, and drop it in the box that's next to the evaluations. That'll help us tremendously. I'm not at all encouraging anyone to leave. I just wanted to say, to give you the chance to give us that feedback. It's very helpful to us.
I just want to say, I think we've got to give a big round of applause to our speakers this morning. They've done a marvelous job, and we couldn't do this without them. And I hope that when you're doing your evaluation, you really think about what else you need to know or would like to know more about so that we can plan a future program for you. The other thing is we have a door prize. And